Hey there, my name is Ryan. I play Outlaw Rogue exclusively. Um, I played it since it changed from combat to Outlaw in Legion. I've been, I've been high rated in Shuffle. I've been high rated in threes before. Um, and I want to make this guide because I've seen other guides of Outlaw, and I think they're very useful and helpful, but I feel like they can go more in depth with how the spec works and why it works and what talents go together to make it the way it is. Because it didn't used to be like it is now. Last season, it was just a PvE spec that was tanky, that did damage. Now it's more of a bursty setup spec. It does consistent damage, but you use your abilities a lot differently now. So it's a different play style. So I want to talk about that. But first, we'll go an overview of what we're going to talk about. So we'll go gear and stats first. And we'll go into talents and PvP talents. Talk about roll the bones, different types of buffs, how the 4 set works. We'll talk about the rotation, and then we're going to talk about different kinds of openers you can do in arena. That section will probably be pretty short. So let's get into the stats and the gear that you're going to want to go for. So for the stats you want to focus on crit first. Crit anywhere between 35-40%. You have 2 different crit modifiers. You have between the eyes and an RNG roll from Roll the Bones, which is the shark buff. Now, between the eyes gives you 20% crit on all your abilities, just flat. It's a buff that stays up. So I have 39% crit in PvP. If I use between the eyes, now I'm close to 60%. I have 59%. With the shark buff, you get 60% chance crit on between the eyes, which effectively makes your crit chance 100% when you have that on between the eyes, that is, and 15% chance on other abilities. So overall, I'll have 75% chance to crit with all my other abilities and 100% chance to crit with between the eyes if I have between the eyes up and I have shark buff. So don't go over 40% crit. You're just going to DR the stat, and your crit chance is already super high anyways. So there's no reason to go past 35 to 40%. You don't need haste, really. You get haste from Roll the Bones if you run the talent, from PvP talent, take a cut. Just like that, 60%. I like to take Mastery. It's an RNG. It's an RNG damaging stat. 30% chance to trigger damage. That's it. It's simple. There's no skill to it. It's just RNG. The next thing you can go is Versatility, which is just a flat damage increase and damage decrease. Makes you tankier, makes you do more damage. Right now, I have a pretty evened out stat line here. I don't want to DR my stats too much. My versatility in PvP combat is already DR'd by 10%. So in PvP, I run around 35% versatility, and the rest is mastery. So I like to think right now I have pretty evened out stats, and I'm happy with where they're at. I think I can get a little more mastery by crafting some pieces with the what's it called, the crafting system with the sparks. I can go some verse mastery here and there with the cape or the bracers. But overall, you want crit, versatility, and then mastery. Okay, and then whatever stat, you want to prioritize. If you want to prioritize versatility and you don't care about DRing it, enchant versatility, gem versatility. Right now I'm gemming mastery and crit. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Standard enchants. You can look up people in the armory. They all have pretty much similar enchants. Slavic Devotion on both weapons for main stat. Stamina on your boots, main stat, and speed on your wrists, speed on your cloak. Some people like to go for speed on their chest, which is just less, gives you less main stat. With this, I think you get 150 main stat, I believe. There's another enchant that gives you less main stat, but more speed. For Outlaw, I don't feel like you need the speed that much because you have insane mobility. So I like to go for more main stat, more stamina. That's just me. Now we can move into the talents. For talents, the rogue side of the tree stays relatively the same. You don't change much. You can, it's a personal preference. If you want more healing, you can go for nimble fingers and iron stomach. If you don't care about the healing, you trust your healer, you can go for more movement slowing ability and reduce the energy it costs to use your stuns and your sap. Other than that, you don't really do anything special. You go down all the way to Shadow Dance, all the way to Deeper Stratagem, and then you get Vigor. You don't take Thistle Tea. You just take Vigor, 2 points in Vigor, and that's it. I'll link the spec in the description. For the Outlaw side, the spec changes in a few places depending on what you're fighting. So, first thing is float like a butterfly. You're gonna want to take that into melees because reducing the cooldown of evasion with Restless Blades is very important. Oftentimes you're not a target, but when you are, it's nice to just have evasion up and ready to go because usually it's off cooldown. Not much to say about this other than you're going to be using evasion off CD whenever they try to touch you because it comes off a cooldown very fast. Against casters, you want to switch into Sting Like a Bee because evasion doesn't have any value against casters. So whenever you stun, whenever you cheap, whenever you kidney shot, they're just going to take 10% more damage for 6 seconds from your whole team. So that's the only time you change these is against melee, take this. Against casters, you take this. That's it. Now, Killing Spree is overall, I feel like, the best talent to take. It's the most versatile. You can get out of roots with it, you can delay damage with it, and you can do damage with it. However, the downside to this is you can get CC'd out of the Killing Spree. In the past, you have been untargetable with Killing Spree. She made it very broken. But now you can get stunned out of it, or feared, or polyed, whatever CC. You can get CC'd out of this. Now, the other talent you can take over Killing Spree is Count the Odds. And that's if you just don't have an extra keybind, you don't care about pressing Killing Spree. Killing Spree is a little more high skill cap than playing Count the Odds because Count the Odds is just passive. If you have good uptime, you're going to get a lot of value out of this. If you have low uptime, not so much. So I don't like playing it because I feel like Killing Spree is just more versatile in getting out of roots and delaying damage. I feel like it's got more uses than this ability right here. The other one is Green Skin. You can take this. I don't think it's that great. I used to think it was pretty good, but now that Between the Eyes is pretty much the your top damage and what you're using rotationally, you don't get much value out of Greenskin. And I can talk about that a little bit more later with the rotation. There's other things in this talent tree that make it so it's awkward to use Greenskin. So really, I would suggest if you want to just play with the passive, count the odds. If you want to try to make more plays and getting out of roots and delaying damage, go for Killing Spree. Um, Other notable talents here are Ghostly Strikes. Use this when you're bursting. Minute half CD. It's not on the GCD. You can macro it into something if you don't have enough keybinds. Like if you want to macro it into, I don't know, Between the Eyes, because you're bursting with Between the Eyes, go ahead. Otherwise, find a different bind for it. But this is what you want to use when you're setting up for a burst window. And this is your capstone talent right here. Crack Shot. Between the Eyes has no cooldown and also dispatches the target for 70%, 75% of the normal damage when used from stealth. So this is what makes Outlaw what it is. This is why it's really good. As Outlaw, you have 6 seconds of subterfuge because of this ability right here. So this stacks with subterfuge. You get stealth abilities can be used for an additional 3 seconds after stealth breaks. So this stacking with subterfuge is huge because now it gives you 6-second window to utilize Crackshot. This is why most games Between the Eyes is your top damage. And that's what makes this spec good. And we'll talk more about how you can utilize this ability when we go through the rotation. Okay, so next we have, oh yeah, PvP talents. Almost forgot. During Brawler, always take this. Always, always, always. It just increases the chance for your Sinister Strike to hit an additional time, and your ambush, which gives you Fan the Hammer procs. You know, Fan the Hammer, it's right here. It's just good for building combo points. Second PvP talent. Generally always good to take Veil of Midnight. Makes your cloak into a bubble. But against casters, you don't really need it. You can take something else. You could take Turn the Tables, Smoke Bomb. You could take Drink Up Me Hearties. Whatever you want, you know. I guess you could take Boarding Party too. It seems kind of troll, but anything but Veil of Midnight, because you're not going to get value out of Veil of Midnight because it's all magic damage against casters anyways. The third one, Take Your Cut. It's really good for your teammates. Just gives them a flat haste bonus. So if you're playing with someone who utilizes haste a lot, Take Your Cut. Super good because now you're just increasing their damage. Their globals are faster. Just overall good talent. And I think that's about it for PvP talents. Just always take Enduring Brawler. This is good into melee. And then your third pick is obviously it's up to you. And Smoke Bomb, Dismantle against melee. Pretty straightforward there. Okay, next we'll get into Roll the Bones and the 4-set. So your 4-set, basically, if you roll the bones, your chance to get 1 buff, 2 buffs, or 6. With this 4-set, you can have 3 buffs active. So if I Adrenaline Rush, this talent Loaded Dice makes it so I get at least 2 matches. Okay? So Adrenaline Rush, I have Loaded Dice right here. When I roll, I'm going to get 2 buffs guaranteed. Okay, I have 2 buffs now. Boom. Okay, I start on this dummy. Just resetting the CD of Roll the Bones. Now, when I roll the bones again, I'm going to keep one of these buffs, and it's going to refresh. So, it's going to give me 3 buffs now, because one of them refreshed, and I rolled 2 additional buffs. So, this is how you can have 3 buffs, because of the 4 set. So, the one that was refreshed was Broadside. If I roll again, I might only get 2. 2. It kept Broadside again. But basically, you want to make sure you're re-rolling whenever your buffs are about to run out, and whenever you want to refresh a certain buff. So I have the shark buff right now. I want to keep the shark buff. I have loaded dice right now, so technically should give me 3 buffs. I keep shark buff, and then I get 2 more. Okay, so that's how your 4 set works. You just are constantly trying to keep buffs up on Roll the Bones. There's a weak aura that some people use. I don't find it useful because I don't really need to know if my buffs are good or trash, Um, but when you roll the bones, it'll say, good, bad, trash. I don't know exactly what it says, but it tells you if your rolls are good. I don't find that information useful. I can see what buffs I have. There are 6 different buffs you can get, and they all do different things, So the ones to look out for are True Bearing and Shark Buff, and the Skull and Bones one is pretty good. It makes it so it's easier for you to hit additional time with Sinister Strike. Okay, now that we've talked about Roll the Bones and how it works and how the foresight works, um, we can go into the rotation of the spec. Now, what I was talking about earlier was there are some talents in the tree that make, or they go well together and they make the spec, and that's Crack Shot and Ace Up Your Sleeve. So the spec has always kind of been RNG, but now it's RNG again with Ace Up Your Sleeve. So you have 7 combo points to work with. If I Between the Eyes with 7 combo points, I'm giving myself a 35% chance that it will refill. Sometimes when you're bursting, it just refills, refill, refill, refill. Sometimes it doesn't. So some of your burst windows can suck. Some of them can be really good. So if I go to stealth, I Adrenaline Rush, Roll the Bones, and I just Between the Eyes. I don't get a refresh there. Didn't refresh. Have to spend every other global. There, they refreshed there one time. Didn't refresh. See how it's RNG? It's not refreshing all my combo points all the time. It did it one time, and then I can vanish and try again. Not refreshing it. Not refreshing it. There, refreshed once. So you see how it can be an RNG. It's just 35% chance if you have full combo points. 25% chance with 5. But it's just an RNG spec still. It's a really good RNG spec, but still RNG. You got your rolls, you got your combo point refills. That's what makes the spec good, is the fact that you can just burst in 6 seconds. Every global can be Between the Eyes, and you're just gonna destroy your target. All my damage is Between the Eyes, right? I pressed it 4 times in that burst window, and I did that much damage. It's insane. It's a lot of damage. So your rotation outside of your burst window is just gonna be, you're gonna go into stealth, Adrenaline Rush. It's important to note, when you're in stealth, your Adrenaline Rush does not lose duration. So whenever a game starts, go stealth, use Adrenaline Rush, get the cooldown going, and it's that simple. And you can roll when you're ready to open. You can open with a cheap if you want into Between the Eyes, Between the Eyes, Between the Eyes. cheap again, between the eyes, slice and dice after subterfuge is over. And then from there, you just Sinister Strike. If you have Dance, you can dance into between the eyes again. Between the eyes, between the eyes, between the eyes. Sinister Strike, get full combo points. Roll again. Between the eyes, between the eyes, between the eyes, between the eyes, between the eyes. And I already have Adrenaline Rush back, right? Like, I almost have Vanish back, too. So I can farm Vanish back, and I can Vanish, between the eyes, between the eyes, between the eyes. That's all your rotation. It's just filling your combo points, pressing between the eyes in your subterfuge windows. Outside of your subterfuge windows, you're just hitting Sinister Strike, Dispatch, Sinister Strike, Dispatch. And trying to get your Vanish back as fast as possible, so you can do another burst rotation, Got Adrenaline Rush. Between the eyes, between the eyes. Yeah. So your rotation is essentially between the eyes, in Subterfuge, in Shadow Dance. Whenever you don't have Vanish or Meld into Stealth, you're using Sinister Strike, using Dispatch. Try to keep up your Slice and Dice. If you have Blade Flurry active with Slice and Dice, it doesn't lose duration because of underhand, upper hand. And that's pretty much your rotation. Just farming back Vanish so you can do another go with Between the Eyes. If I was to Vanish right now, and I tried it Between the Eyes over and over, I'm kind of energy starved. You got to be conscious of how much energy you have when you're doing this. If you don't have Adrenaline Rush up and you try to do a Vanish and a bunch of Between the Eyes, you might not get good value out of it because you're not going to regenerate energy as fast if you don't have Adrenaline Rush up. So yeah, just focus on those burst windows in Subterfuge, utilizing Between the Eyes effectively, filling up your combo points, using Between the Eyes, and that's the rotation. It's kind of awkward to get used to at first, because the playstyle, if you played Outlaw before, the playstyle was a lot different. It used to just be, I'm just gonna hit my target. I'm gonna do this. I'll Between the Eyes, then I'm gonna just Dispatch. I'll get full combo points, and I'll Dispatch. And that was how Outlaw played before. Now you have to use everything offensively. You have to use your Vanish offensively. You can even use Cloak offensively just to do damage. It's just a weird, different playstyle. So that's it for the rotation. Now we can talk about how to open up an arena. So for openers, let's just say the Skull is the healer, X is off DPS, and Square is the target you want to kill. You can start the gates open. You can Blade Flurry, go Stealth. You can Adrenaline Rush, roll the bones, go sap this healer. Can't sap target dummy. Cheap off target. Cheap this guy. Start spamming Between the Eyes. Between the Eyes. And then off the sap, you can stun this guy. Come back, dance. Spam Between the Eyes again. Off the cheap, you can blind. That's pretty general. Pretty standard opener. You can gouge it off target if you want. But you don't always have to worry about keeping the off-target CC'd by yourself. In your subterfuge windows, I would say just focus on using Between the Eyes. Let other people worry about CCing off-target. Don't do everything. You're not a sub-rogue. You're not gonna have dance every 30 seconds. You're not gonna be able to cheat the the whole world while still doing damage. A lot of your damage is going to come from between the eyes. So, like, this breakdown, just between the eyes, right? Um, so you want to make sure you make good use of it. Don't focus too much on CCing everything. I would say focus on CCing the healer as much as you can, with blind, kidneys, and gouges, and then stunning your main target with cheaps. Cheap shot over and over. Farm back your banish as much as you can. Um, Playing Night Elf is very beneficial. You get more uptime on Subterfuge. Adrenaline Rush it doesn't lose durability when you come out of stealth, so you have constant uptime on Adrenaline Rush. I think that's about it for the guide. I will link the build in the description. If I missed anything, just let me know. Leave a comment. I do my best to explain whatever I missed through the comments. But other than that, that's it. Thanks for watching, and hope you have a fun time in Shuffle or Arena, whatever you decide to do. Thanks.